it's Captain Forest here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over both these combatants to see who would win more often than not in an inverse situation. Lifebringer Galactus versus the Chaos King. Now if you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course give me feedback and subscribe for further content. Also, shouts to the Coffee Shop Gang, they make awesome content. Their links will be in the description. Also, shouts to HQ Squad, massive shouts to Korin, it's been a huge help in this video. So much appreciate to him and the rest of the team members. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about Lifebringer Galactus and talk about what he brings to the table more often than not. So yeah, let's begin. So it's noted by Cubic to have power unimaginable to the Beyonder. This is the Beyonder that became a cosmic cube. Then we have the cosmic cube being Cosmos, that is Beyonder and Molecule Man together, being told they are above most cosmic embodies, including the in-betweener. We are later told that higher manifestations of embodies are greater infinities compared to Cosmos and Cubic. Using this, we can say that the difference between each embody is more than the unimaginable difference between the cosmic cube, Beyonder and Cubic, and the fact that Cubic says there are levels to infinity, implying all of them exist, means that the gap is so massively between cosmic embodies, which means that it happens more than an infinite number of times before you can get to their true form. Now the gap between each concept being an unimaginable difference should be greater than that of the in-betweener, the concept of concepts, making each gap an outerversal difference with infinite outerversal levels, each surpassing the other. The true form of embodies would be high outerversal on Versus Battle Wiki standards, as by considering it's a realm of true concepts in comparison to embodies by lesser concepts, you can say it's high outerversal by character stats and profile definition too. Now in other words of Lifebringer Galactus, the Superflow is the highest level, and where metaphor and reality meet, where concepts wage war. So the scaling chain mentioned above ends at the Superflow as the peak of that chain. So now another way to show this, using Absorbing Man, Overspace, and the dimensions of manifestation. Absorbing Man was made to absorb the power of Thor and Odin, yet his mind and his view of reality are unable to handle anything in the oversphere, the place where abstracts truly exist. Now we look at the dimension of manifestation, where there are numerous embodies, each implied to be a different level. We know this because the full scan, this numerous embodies is stated to be where Quasar is at the trial of Adam Warlock, something that took place in the overspace. This means the dimension of manifestation contains levels of embodies, not just infinite embodies. Now when it comes to levels of reality, Doctor Strange tells us that there are a beyond infinite amount. Now again, the dimension of manifestation contains the appearance of all embodies, no matter what level of reality they are. So there is a beyond infinite number of levels to reality, each with embodies at a different level, shown as there are different levels of reality, and it includes overspace as such. Now again, in the original appearance of Absorbing Man, we are shown Asgard is an outerversal distance from Earth, and since Odin very consistently scales to the world tree, which contains this distance, Odin is easily outerversal. The start of the scaling chain is of one level of higher abstracts, the overspace, being unimaginable to the Absorbing Man, who scales to Odin with his absorbing powers. This means the dimension of manifestation, infinite ascending layers, is infinite outerversal layers, or high outerversal on Versus Battle Wiki. And using the idea that the Superflow is of true concepts in comparison to what's below it, which would mean they supersede all M bodies by default, it would make the level of the superflow high altiversal on character stats. There's two superflows, the one between universes and the one beyond all universes, multiverses, megaverses, etc. Marvel does have a platonic reality within its multiverse. This is made consistent by an alternate Earth tanking a platonic war between time and space. The truest superflow would have an archetypal transcendence over the superflow between universes, which is already layers into outer, depending on how you interpret it. The microverse, which exists beyond the multiverse and into the superflow, contains infinite dream transcendences. Depending on interpretation, this could get the superflow anywhere from outer plus to infinite dream transcendences into high altiversal, and over space a layer above that, depending on interpretation. Now that we've established the AP for Lifebringer Galactus, at least when it comes to the scaling to the superflow, I think it's time to talk about an even higher scale for the big guy. Let's talk about the wellspring that he is powered by. You see, Lifebringer Galactus is powered by a cosmic wellspring that is theoretically as infinite as the 8th multi-eternity. The 8th multi-eternity doesn't just encompass the superflow, but he also encompasses the neutral zone. The neutral zone itself is conceptually beyond the superflow. So depending on how you go about the scaling for the superflow, the neutral zone can range anywhere from high altiversal to conceptually transcending high altiversal. Something that supports this scale even further is the fact that Lifebringer Galactus is capable of simultaneously perceiving the totality of the 8th eternity. For starters, he can manipulate matter on a subatomic level. He is able to convert physical beings into multiple things, such as an insect or even pure energy. Galactus has immense telepathic resistances and mind hacks. His mind hacks would have so many layers, considering Oblivion scales above beings like Eternity, which is the 8th cosmos. Galactus, while even before becoming a Lifebringer, was able to fight the Scryer and the other, which was threatening the entire multiverse on the level of the Chaos War. All of creation, the 7th cosmos, was at threat of being destroyed. This would mean Galactus, Scarer, and the other were also fighting on a conceptual level. Silver Surfer, who holds a very small fraction of the power cosmic, has the ability to conceptually erase something across the entire universe. Lifebringer Galactus with the Wellspring would also channel archetypal powers from the superflow and realms beyond it, such as the neutral zone, which would make him far more powerful and put him on par with the 8th cosmos. Surfer has actually interacted with realms like the astral plane, which has been stated to be the source of the power cosmic before. Using evidence from Ultimates and other comics, this would imply that the astral plane is actually located somewhere in the superflow and would be tied to eternity in general. Metatron is likewise the sentience of the 8th cosmos and would scale to that creation. Galactus's scaling to the Wellspring would also mean that he could be compared to Metatron, which would boost his conceptual existence by manyfold and would also make interacting with any of Eternity's conceptual planes incredibly impressive. His powers also technically stem from the 6th cosmos, as he was merged with the dying heart of the 6th omniverse. Galactus lacks dimensionality, for his true nature is completely beyond it, referring to normal Galactus, and his attacks can attack not on just a physical but also on other layers of beings, such as the mental, spiritual, astral, conceptual, and abstract planes, as he or his heralds have demonstrated this before. Galactus possesses the ultimate nullifier, which is a part of him. It is so powerful that it completely removes whoever is hit with it from reality across all of time on a conceptual degree. Its existence erasure, but also removes you from causality and conceptuality. When Quasar was hit with the ultimate nullifier, he became one with oblivion. This makes sense, as the ultimate nullifier can even erase conceptual abstracts like eternity, both embodies and eternity and the seventh cosmos. By doing so, all of continuity was erased and rebuilt within eternity. Wielding the ultimate nullifier makes you one of the most powerful beings in the omniverse. Even an embody of eternity contains higher forms of time and space beyond what may naturally be seen for a universal eternity. Embody created the eternity mask, which holds narrative substance throughout all of multiversal time and multiversal space. Also means Galactus has plot hacks, which makes sense since the ultimate nullifier would also remove you from continuity and narrative. Moving on to Galactus's final purpose, just as he survived the destruction of the 6th and 7th omniverses, he would survive the destruction of the 8th omniverse, but not to traverse as a passenger of that energy again. He would become the very energy that would spark the creation of the next cosmos. This Galactus would be stronger than Lifebringer, though, since eternity grows with each iteration, becoming more and more powerful. Galactus can change the dimensions of his body, becoming larger than a planet, the size of a star, or almost the size of a galaxy. He is capable of erasing all emotion from one's soul, making them completely subservient to his will. Oh, and let's not forget that not even death can claim Galactus. Galactus is capable of regenerating from complete physical annihilation, which means the Big G has low godly regen at least. Okay, so that's going to round up Lifebringer Galactus. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Chaos King and see what he brings to the table. The entity known as Amatsu Mikaboshi originated as an offshoot of Oblivion, the abstract entity embodying the void that existed before eternity began, an incarnation of the primordial darkness and chaos that existed before eternity. The Chaos King exists as a dark counterpart to eternity, whose genesis stripped the Chaos King of much of its power and led it to being integrated into the Shinto cosmology as Amatsu Mikaboshi, taking advantage of the chaos left by the fall of Asgard and the Norse pantheon. Mikaboshi planned to extend his influence by capturing Olympus and crushing the Olympian gods. With the Olympians defeated, Mikaboshi hoped to compel all the other pantheons into surrendering. To this end, Mikaboshi laid siege to Olympus, which was very close to succeeding. Ares, still bitter about the treatment he received from the other Olympians, refused to raise a finger to help them. Desperate for his aid and wishing to goad Ares into action, Zeus had Alexander kidnapped and brought to Olympus, where he was placed under the care of Achilles and the Myrmidons. While Achilles was away, Mikaboshi's forces managed to destroy the Myrmidons' fortress and steal Alexander away to his own stronghold in the eastern lands. Mikaboshi slowly began to warp Alexander's mind in an attempt to turn him against his father by revealing the brutal history and patricides committed by the Greek gods. Mikaboshi hoped to turn Alex into the new god of war, one that could be used against the Greek gods and more importantly, Ares himself. Finding out his son was in the hands of the Olympus enemies, a furious Ares begrudgingly agreed to join in the fight, but only to rescue his son. During the battle, Zeus was on the brink of death and used his remaining power to break the hold Mikaboshi had over Alexander. Alexander used the grass-cutter sword against the Mikaboshi and ended the battle. Mikaboshi was then returned to the Japanese land of the dead defeated. Athena of the Olympian pantheon called a meeting of the pantheons in San Francisco to assemble a team of gods from Earth, known as the God Squad. Mikaboshi was chosen by the pantheons of the East along with Hercules, Snowbird, Tekumotsin, and Atum, the God Eater, to battle and defeat the Scroll Gods. En route to Scroll Space through the Dream Realm, they battled Nightmare. Mikaboshi was key in winning the battle by being able to make duplicates of himself. Athena had been preparing herself for many years in order to fight the great struggle against the primordial darkness. Mikaboshi, who would soon descend upon the world, telling to Amadeus Cho that Hercules' strength would be useless, but Cho's genius might bring them victory. Later, Hera had a vision of Mikaboshi slaying the Shi'ar gods. Eventually, Mikaboshi relished the slow death of his oldest enemy, Gaia, who herself was the fountainhead of creation and the one who birthed the gods. Now how about we see what the Chaos King brings to the table in this battle against the Marquis of Death? Well, we know the Chaos King was able to conquer all of the underworld and force Death herself to flee. The Chaos King straight up killed Zeus with one attack. He possessed and ultimately corrupted Zeus after killing him, amping the god of sky and lightning in the process. It's worth noting that this same Zeus was able to take down Galactus with one attack. Amadeus Cho confirmed that the Chaos King destroyed 98.76% of the entire multiverse. Oh, and let's not forget that the Chaos King is the entity directly opposite to eternity. As we know, eternity is an abstract entity, the conceptual embodiment of everyone and everything, which essentially means the Chaos King himself is conceptless nothingness. Okay, so that's going to round up both these combatants. I'm going to go ahead and talk about who would win more often than not in this situation now that I've laid down the facts. So in terms of like AP, depending on what you give Lifebringer Galactus, so if you give him only the Superflow scaling, then Chaos King would scale above him pretty easily. He'd take that department. He'd just be higher into the cosmology. But if you give, of course, Lifebringer his Wellspring scaling, his really good stuff, then he'd do fine in AP. He wouldn't be outclassed. He'd probably be on the offense. He'd probably have the AP more often than not against Chaos King. I don't think speed's going to be an issue. I think they'd both be able to scrap just fine. I don't think speed's going to be an issue at all. Now, of course, going into this fight, because of Chaos King, because of he's literally he's conceptless nothingness, so his very nature is like literally like conceptual nothingness. It's going to be very difficult for Lifebringer Galactus to just take him out based off his just how fundamental and how his nature works. So Lifebringer, in terms of like offensive means, they won't prove to be very effective. Now, he does have other ways to dispatch of the Chaos King. BFR is a good option. I think Lifebringer Galactus is pretty smart. He'll know what to do in this situation, because if the Chaos King continues to fight and it takes too long for Galactus to get rid of him, then of course the corruption is just going to affect Lifebringer, and that's just going to be GG. Chaos King would take victory through that avenue. But of course, more often than not, I see Lifebringer Galactus using his smarts. He's very tactical. He's not stupid. He will know what is happening, and he will use his tactics in order to get rid of Chaos King, and he'd win by like BFI, just send him off into a conceptual realm where Chaos King can't get out. Kind of similar to what happened in the Chaos War. So more often than not, I kind of see Lifebringer Galactus taking victory more often than not in this situation, especially since standard battle assumptions would apply and Chaos King wouldn't arrive to the battlefield on time. He wouldn't make it at all, I don't think. I have to give victory to Lifebringer Galactus. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed, leave your thoughts in the comment section. It's been real. See you guys in the next one.